Char from Char's Fashion Nation, and I am fascinatingly bringing you another Char's Spoopy story time while working on the draft. I was hoping that there wouldn't be any glare on the lens because I have the light over here, so whatever. Let's keep this enlightened and keep on going. Now, from the last time, you guys did not see this here, this part here, and this one over here. Plus, I darkened this eye for contrast a bit. I did this one, and I've got a lot done over here. And last time, you guys only saw me working on this, and now it's coming out okay. So let's get to work on that. Zoom in just a little bit more if we can. Ooh. Right there. There we go. So I'm going to choose a color and roll with it, right? So I've already got some needles strung up with what I'm going to be working with. So this is 4 shade. This is a light gray threading. So will I use this right now? If I do that right now, it's going to be up in this area in which I have going right here. And since I already have it in my hand, let's get going on that. So anyway, today's Spoopy story time is a story a friend of mine told me about when he was a kid and living here in Jersey, went camping, in a cabin. Yes, it's another one of those. And the second story that we will do, if we do that one today, I don't know if you guys can tell the difference between the 2 shades. Maybe you will soon. So we're going to call my friend Bob. It's not his real name, but we're just going to call him Bob. So when Bob was a kid, around 8 years old, some of his family members decided, hey, let's go rent this cabin up in the woods. And so they're like, yay. And then one of their other family members was like, why rent a cabin when I own one? So they're like, ooh, even better. So they go up to their family cabin. It was their family cabin at that point. Which is great, when you got family members that will do that. That's fun. Okay. So all these kids are excited because they cousins get to hang around with each other and everything, have a good time, hang out and all that, all the good stuff. So at night, generally in the woods, you hear the normal snapping and popping. Everybody is telling scary stories and stuff. And they start to tell the story about the Jersey Devil. So they did happen to be camping, not really camping. To me, camping is outside. So they were in their cabin in the area near the story of where the Jersey Devil began. So kids, your family's cabin is in that area. That's probably not the bestest idea to do. So, they're thinking, oh, haha, somebody's just playing a joke on us. And they all go to sleep and everything. Like, the kids are up in the lofted area of this cabin. So Bob and a couple of the other kids decided, hey, let's go downstairs, sneak downstairs and just hang out down there, near the fireplace and everything. You know, they didn't light the fire, but they were just hanging out there. So they go to doze off. Bob and his cousin, Ralph, we'll call it cousin Ralph, decide to, and this is a true story, I only changed the names of the people, but that's a disclaimer, I only changed the names. Or like, you know, chilling and everything. They go to fall asleep. You know, when you drift off to sleep, sometimes in REM sleep, you hear things and it makes you scared enough to wake up. So, turn a little so that you guys can see this a little better. So, they hear this noise like coming towards that section of the cabin by the window. And they get a peek outside. They don't see anything at first except for like some of the trees moving and smaller pine trees moving and such. So they're thinking, oh, maybe it's just an animal. There are animals in New Jersey. And that is until they hear a weird sound and see a set of kind of a reddish orange glowing, and hear this noise and some clawing, and they're like, They run back up where the other kids are and start screaming because whatever it was. Now, mind you, in the upstairs lofted area, there happens to be the skylight. So whatever it was up on the skylight, pounding on it, scratching to get in, and these kids are screaming. I mean, like you probably would. And, you know, kids are going to scream if they're scared, of course. So the parents are like, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? And Bob, he's like, oh my gosh, it was the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil's outside your life. The Jersey Devil is not outside. So this one, they thought, you know, hey, these parents aren't going to believe us. Yeah, they started believing him, all right. They started believing him because, well, let's just put it this way. Whatever it really was, could have been the Jersey Devil, made such a ruckus that all those adults heard that and apologized to the kids after, like, oh crap, we gotta go. And the kids were like, I am not going out there. No. So he never wanted to go back up there with his family, and like, who blames him? I don't. Would you want to? I mean, I would, for the simple fact that, you know, spooky things. But there's that story. Now, another story that I have is a church camp story. Okay, from when I went to Camp Luther Haven. I know that just sounds so evil. Luther Haven. So when I was a kid, I was sent to this church camp. Did not enjoy it. I just did not enjoy it. Let's just put it that way. Let's just leave that part at that. I did not enjoy church. Too many stuck-up people. So anyway, one day I, you know, sign up to take a canoe out on the water, right? And like, there's Camp Luther Haven, and then on the other side of the lake is another camp. I know this sounds like some horror story stuff. Trust me, it was. Can you guys tell the difference yet? Because there's like two different shades there, two different shades of red. You guys will be able to tell the difference when I'm completely done with this. So, let me get this knot done and grab another color. So like I was saying, I grabbed this light green threading. I have it over here. That's funny, like if you want to see a spoopy go quick, you just take a thread and kind of slip it. Anyway, so Camp Luther Haven was not fun. That was a nightmare by itself. So, like I was saying, you know, I'm at this church camp, not having the best time of my life. And, you know, like I was saying, I'm trying to go out on this canoe. I already knew how to row a canoe just by myself, so I had no problems with that. But camp counselors, right, started meeting up in the middle of the lake, and because there was, you know, something going on, I'll tell you what that is in a minute. There was something going on, so it's like I was curious, and you know, you were allowed to row out to a certain point, so I rowed out to this point, and you know, a camp counselor like rowed up to where I was going, and they're like, you need to turn back, and I'm like, why? We're allowed to go out this far even if we're by ourselves, that way we're in view. So he was telling me, he's like, well, today you can't because there's a missing kid from the other camp across the water. And I'm like, well, don't you guys row over there at night to meet up with the other camp counselors? And they did. And I'm like, so how would you guys have not seen this missing kid? Right? This is like some Jason Voorhees shit, right? And they're like, well, we didn't know this kid was missing until now. And I'm like, okay, but I'm still questioning this. Who would not question the fact that your camp counselors are rowing over to the other camp at night to meet up with the other camp counselors on the other side of the lake? Is Camp Luther Haven on the East Coast? No, because then that would be some Jason Voorhees shit, right? Camp Crystal Lake is actually, I believe, there's a Camp Crystal Lake here in Jersey, and there's also one up in New York. But anyway, I believe so. But that has nothing to do with Camp Luther Haven. So anyway, like, I questioned the counselor a little bit more. He's starting to get pissed. I'm like, you know what? I'm not the one that rows back and forth at night just to, like, go hang out with probably camp counselors that were told, like, everybody has this curfew at night because, you know, you have things to do the next day. He got kind of pissed at me, and I'm like, but, you know, this kid is missing. How could none of you notice that a kid just walked off? Well, he didn't know how to swim. There were all these canoes. Any canoes missing? Any canoes? He's like, why? And I'm like, because that would be a sign of what happened. Did the kid leave in a canoe? So they had no idea. It's like, I was thinking, it's like, hey, this kid could have just gotten a canoe, went somewhere, got lost, got hurt, you know, find a canoe that the kid, you know, like, who knew? So he's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I'll mention it. I'm like, you better mention it. He's like, well, you're kind of rough for a kid. And I'm like, yeah, you got a missing kid. Other kids are going to worry. So, okay, let's get back to, you know, like, this poor missing kid. Okay. Nobody really gave a description of the kid, which is weird because, you know, you would think they would give a description of this kid and put it all out everywhere. This kid was still missing when we left camp, so I don't know whatever happened with that. But I do know that the police, forestry service, the state police, the forestry service, and the sheriff's department all show up. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they not sweeping the water? Why are they not having other people go and help look for this kid? Like, would you not think that that's weird? So it's like, that bothered me the whole time I was there, because I would ask the other kids, I'm like, there's a missing kid from the other side of the lake. They're like, no, we didn't know this. How did you find out? So I told them, they're like, well, aren't you nosy? And I'm like, no, the camp counselor told me I had to row back. So I questioned why, and they're like, oh, that you weren't supposed to question counselors. And I'm like, in certain situations, you should probably question what's going on. So in case you find this person, right? But at night, I know now this is going to sound kind of Blair Witch. But I'm telling you, like, being up there was like deliverance. Like, you did not really know who came from where, so it was like deliverance. So at night, and this is where it starts to sound like the Blair Witch, I started hearing what sounded like somebody trying to run barefoot in the woods, and some screaming. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe somebody took this poor kid at that point. And then all of a sudden, because some of the other kids heard that, we went outside. We didn't know his name, and we're like, over here, we hear you over here. Come over here and follow our voices. But the running stopped, and you hear this, right? And I'm thinking, oh God, whatever's chasing this kid just got him, right? Of course, you would think that. And, or you would think maybe that person fell. But like I was saying, when I was going home from camp, they still had not found this missing kid, and it was really fucking weird. So it's like, the person that took us up to camp came to pick us up to take us back. And we go to this IHOP for breakfast. So I'm like, ooh, really cool, because I had never been to an IHOP before. Sometimes people go to IHOP. Sometimes you're just not used to it. Some people have never ate at Denny's. So we're there, and the waitresses are, talking. They're like, did you kids just get back from camp? And, the person picking us up knew what happened, this missing kid. And she's like, they're not allowed to talk to you. And I'm like, yes, we just came from camp, and please don't tell people I can't talk to them. Like, it's the waitress, and her name is Alice. We're just going to call her Alice because it was in a restaurant. You get that joke right there, Alice's restaurant. You can have anything you want at Alice's restaurant. So anyway, enough with the musical. That song's gonna stick with me for a while. Working on this right here, getting some depth going in it. Let me change the lighting real quick. So anyway, I was telling Alice, like, I was out in the canoe teacher told me I had to go back because, you know, there was this missing kid. But the lady at the restaurant, Alice, at the restaurant, she said, well, they found this canoe, but it was covered in blood. I'm thinking to myself, aha, I was right. There was a missing canoe. There was a missing canoe. Like, okay, but we had custodians at these places. So was it a custodian? It could have been a custodian, but you think about this. We let our kids go to camp, right? Is it necessarily safe? I mean, my children were in scouts, my boys and my girls. So it's like, eldest boy, like, I have stories from when he went to camp. Yeah, up at Wallowa Lake in Oregon. And there's some spoopy stories from that as well. So, if you want to hear that, leave that down in the comment section of the description box. That would be wrong. Anyway, let me grab another thread and tell me what you guys think of this so far, because I'm just trying to layer in some texture and color, make this thing kind of pop. But, you know, like the next time, because I have other church camp creepy stories, which I think I've already told you guys some of them, not all of them. But, like, would you let your kid go to camp knowing there's a risk? I don't think I would. I mean, my kids are grown and on their own now. But would I let them go to camp knowing the shit that I actually know now? No. I mean, we really have to think of our kids and people around us and, like, how do we want to make sure that these people stay in our life and they stay safe, right? I'm looking at this and trying to figure out where do I want to go on this next. I think what I shall do, because I have this lime green count, is I will come into this chest area here, right? Start working on that. I'm just going to kind of be all over this so it goes quicker, you know, the color in this, so it just kind of goes quicker. If you stay in one area on embroidery, it kind of gets boring, and then you want to put it down for a while, but I have got to get this piece going. It's for my friend Jessica. Check her out. Anyway, so think about that. Would you really want your kids to go to any sort of camp knowing that there's some sort of risk? Or just, I mean, I love camping. I'm not going to ditch camping. I absolutely adore camping. My version of camping is a tent or a sleeping bag and a rucksack. That's really about it. But, yeah, that's my version of camping. And making sure that you have supplies to either hunt or survive if you get stuck in the woods. I just think, like, some things from church camp was a little weird. You know, like, you couldn't this, you couldn't that, even though you paid money to do that. I paid money out of my own darn pocket to go to these camps, so I was thinking to myself, like, why in the heck, you know, like, these camp counselors aren't going to tell me the truth. But I think that what they thought is, you know, hey, this is a kid, let's not scare her, please. I was beaten on and stuff. I was glad to get away from the people that were beating on me. So it's like, you had the tough kid, but treating the tough kid, you know, that was all quiet and everything. Like, I should know certain things, like, but I paid my own way to be there. I did. But, maybe they thought that they were trying to protect me or whatnot. Just look at that. Look at that. Right there. But, yeah, comments below, would you let your kids today go to these camps knowing that there's a risk that your kid could get snatched at camp and never see him again? Which is sad to say, because there's a lot of creepers in this world today. And it's just really, really sad. So like I said, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the 2 stories. Well, I'm working on this. Doing the stories and doing the embroidery, I know it doesn't really look like I've done much on the embroidery. That can be scary by itself. But, you know, unless of course you want a 3rd story, because I do have one from like the military bases, from traveling from one to another. So let's pop that in today as well, because I want to show you this. So we're going to pop that in real quick. So traveling, right? Traveling. I was always the nav, the one with the map. And so traveling back from the state of Oregon, back down to San Diego area, pull into this rest stop, right? And I was like, I am not comfortable here at this rest stop. Can we go find something further up the road? They're like, well, I don't know if there is one. So I'm like looking at the map, and you know, like rest stops were literally marked on maps. Because I have the road atlas. Does that not pop that color? Yes, it does. Because that's the color in here, in which, of course, I will lay in like an extra layer of light yellow in there. Let's kind of bring it together like that. So we stuck this rest stop, right? I'm like, you know, I really don't feel comfortable at this rest stop. So I had been trying to listen to the radio every time, you know, we went to go to a next area. So over the radio, and even a CB radio, you hear this transmission about be on the lookout for X and X person, mostly located in this area, last seen. And I'm like, just make sure that we don't go in the area. Did they listen to me? Oh no. No. So as we're sleeping, I'm like, there's somebody outside. They're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. So like the dog is barking. I'm like, even the dog knows that there's somebody outside. And they're like, no, the dog just wants out. I peek out the van window, right? Because, you know, back then they owned one of those Chevy vans that had like the little kitchenette and the very back seat in the very back of the van. You know, it was a sofa, but it had seat belts. And so I slept on the floor. And you know, the van had curtains. So I go to pull back the curtain, and I see a man running towards one of the big rigs that were there, one of the big trucks. And I hear him banging on this truck, right? Didn't know that the guy was armed or anything. The trucker, you know, of course the trucker's going to be pretty much pissed off because you are disturbing his sleep. So the trucker goes to get out and see what the hell is going on. And then you don't hear the trucker after that. So early in the morning, the police show up because I guess one of the trucker's buddies, like, found him dead. See, like, people should freaking listen. Just when a kid tells you, hey, they may not be making that shit up. Like, pay attention to what people are saying because, yeah, it could save your life. So, you see the state police and, you know, have to get out to use the facility anyway. And so I asked the state police officer, I'm like, you know, what happened? And he's like, you shouldn't be over here. And I'm like, well, I heard something in the middle of the night. Nobody would believe me. And I saw this man running towards this truck. He's like, you witnessed this. I'm like, well, I didn't witness whatever happened. But I did hear something. But then I didn't hear the trucker after a while, even though he said, hey, what are you doing? And that was the last thing. They're like, oh, okay. They're like, other witnesses said the same thing. You know, you don't have to stick around. And I'm like, that's fine with me, just so you know that the dog was even barking. They're like, oh, okay. So I'm like, did you check around the restrooms? Because that right there on the chest right there. I was pointing the wrong way. Like, hello, it's here. So anyway, so I asked him, did you check around the restrooms? Because I need to go use it, and I'm afraid that somebody might actually be hiding. And they're like, hiding? And I'm like, actually hiding from you guys in one of the restrooms. And they're like, you know, kid, sounds like a horror movie theory. You might be right. So they go and they check the ladies' room. Good thing I spoke up that day or I would not be alive. There would be no spooky story time without me if I had not spoke up. So they go and check the restroom. Lo and behold, there was the murder. Like, I'm trying to think where to put this one. Like, that was a really, like, this is an eggshell color, and I'm trying to think of where do I want to put this. Is that the eggshell? Yeah. Where do I want to put this one? But anyway, so I think I'll just end this right here because I have a lot of work to do on this. Like I said, leave in the comments below if you want to hear the Wallowa Lake story for Boy Scout camp and what happened there. But also let me know what you think about the dragon. Dragging along and coming along, sort of coming along. So yeah, I still have a lot of work to do on this. The next time I do a spooky story time, I'm not sure I'll be showing this. Maybe, let me know if you want me to. So until then, stay spoopy, and I will figure out what I want to do the next time I do spooky story time. So I'm going to do this, makeup, we'll think of something. But, like I said, stay spoopy, and also stay happy, stay healthy, stay positive, and as always, stay blessed. Because there's a lot more spooky story time and other things, because I was cleaning my sewing machine earlier, and I gotta get back to that. So, I will see you in the next one. Yay!